We are here in Hartford, Connecticut at the very famous Mark Twain House, and this is going to be a YouTube live, so anybody that's on the broadcast, of course, could text in questions. So I'm going to give you a tour of the house and explain to you the rooms in the various floors of the house. Mark Twain moved here in the late 1800s. People always ask, how did he afford this house? And the answer is his wife, who was very rich, Livy. It was through her family that he was able to afford to build this house. Because there are many antiques in the house that have been loaned for the restoration project, I cannot go inside, but I know this house incredibly well. So I'm going to give you a tour and explain to you the different rooms of the house while I'm standing right outside here in the yard. So I do want to remind people we are doing this on YouTube Live. If you text in questions, I'll certainly try to answer them. So a tour just started going in through that front door right there, the foyer. Please notice that the foyer has a porch on top there with a roof, which was hello marked in UK. I'm so glad to share this with you, which, by the way, this is listed as one of the top historic homes worldwide to visit by National Geographic and by other tour groups. So as I was saying about that porch, you notice there's a roof there. That roof was there in the foyer. So if the weather were inclement, people could easily just wait right outside there. Hello, Jarmo is coming in here from Finland to enjoy this outdoor tour of the Mark Twain House. So let me start over here. This is where people would gather to start their tour right here, underneath here. By the way, the house is brick. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell when you're looking at this visually. You have to be really up close to tell that this is brick. The house is done in Gothic architecture style. Many people think that this house is originally designed to look like a steamboat, but that is not the case. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the house. So we walk in that front door. When you walk into that front door, you walk into a very elegant lobby, and it was the Tiffany family that did a lot of the design inside. Hey, we got quite a few people on this live broadcast, which is very exciting. So this inside, in through there, and through that main entrance, I'll try to walk up a little closer, but I might lose the signal, so I have a good signal here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stay right here. So on the other side of the porch you're looking at is the living room. It's an amazing room. As I said, I wish I could take you inside to tell you a little bit about it. But what you'll find in the living room is a grand piano. The Twain family loved playing the piano. His three daughters, as some of you might know, he had three daughters. They loved to play the piano in that room, and this is where they entertained guests. On this side of the house where you're seeing these three windows, that is called the Mahogany Room. And that's where many guests stayed, including Mark Twain's wife's mother, who visited often. Now, the Mahogany House was restored recently, and it just opened up last Christmas. And it's just, they do have a special exhibit explaining the restoration of the Mahogany Room. Underneath the porch there, I could walk over. If we maintain the signal, that would be great. We have the conservatory. So you'll see some glass windows possibly. You'll have to let me know if our signal stays on. But that is the conservatory. And I'll try to come up a little closer to show it to you. I'm going to pause right here, and you can see those glass windows. The Twain daughters like to call that the jungle. They love playing in there. Today, that conservatory is filled with plants, and there's a beautiful fountain inside the conservatory. If I try to go up against the windows, so we will get a reflection. So let me continue giving you the tour. Behind the conservatory, we have the library, which was another area for social gatherings. And the library has an amazing fireplace, and the mantle for that fireplace was brought back here from Scotland. When they first brought it back here, it was a little too high to fit in the room, so they cut off the top, but they also used that for decoration in the room, and they put it over one of the doorways. Behind the library and behind the living room is the elegant dining room. The Twains loved to entertain, and they had guests all the time. They had elegant meals. They had servants here in the house. If you come to do a tour, they have people in costumes that'll do the tour, and there's one of the tour guides that's fantastic. It's one of the maids that lived here in the house with them that really, she's just great. She's wonderful, wonderful tour guide. So let me tell you a little bit about the second floor of the house. The window we're looking at right up there on the second floor, underneath where you see the banners hanging. That was the children's room. Two daughters lived in that room or had that bedroom. And then alongside of it, where you're seeing two other windows right above the porch, the eldest daughter, Susie, had her own bedroom there. right above the porch, and I'll try to see if I can maintain this signal. You're going to have to let me know. Where you see 3 windows above the porch, I'm going to try to come around a little bit more so to show it to you, if I can. Right underneath that porch, on the very top floor, you see 3 windows. That's where the bedroom was, the master bedroom. And in that room, Mark Twain had a headpiece that he brought back from his tours. A lot of the antiques in the house originally were brought back here when Mark Twain and his wife Livy did a lot of touring around in Europe. So he had an incredible headboard there, and what he did is he put it at the foot. So when he was sleeping, and when he woke up, he would see that headboard right away. It's an amazing headboard, just wooden headboard. It's fantastic. The other interesting thing about this house is that back in that time, which is really unusual, all the bedrooms had their own bathrooms with running water. The house, in addition, and there's also fireplaces in every single room in the house, which is also quite incredible. Now, the most famous room, perhaps, is right there on the top floor, and that is where the billiard room is. And I'm going to try to walk around and show you a little bit more of the billiard room. Originally, Twain did most of his famous writing here in this house. All of his really very famous works that most of you would know were written here. Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, hey, Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. Many, many other things were written right here. So hello everybody that's joining me live. I really appreciate being able to do a YouTube live with a signal and have some viewers. So where you see that very top floor, you can see a porch up there on the very top. Okay, that is part of the billiard room. The billiard room actually has 3 terraces. The house is amazing. As some of you may know, when I've done some periscopes here, I do quite a bit of work here at the Mark Twain House, so I pretty much have the house memorized, and I love sharing it. It's the first time I've been able to get a signal to do it YouTube live. So let me tell you a little bit more about the billiard room, where he did most of his writing. He also smoked his cigars up there. He had 3 different balconies, the one we're looking at right now in the front. To the side, you might be able to start to see a second one. And if I come around to the rear of the house, you'll see another one. You will have to let me know if our signal is holding out. I am trying to walk around here to see if I could show you more of the billiard room. We get a very good view from this position right here. We're looking above from the conservatory. So if our signal's still holding out, I'll tell you a little bit more about the billiard room. He liked to go up there to do his writing and to smoke his cigars and to relax. And he also, some of his guests would also go up there. They do their drinking up there. By the way, Mark Twain was a very heavy drinker. Okay, so you can start to see 2 of the porches out here where he could easily go and smoke his cigars. Now, right here, I'm going to try to come up a little closer and show you in the billiard room, this one terrace. Right behind that terrace, and let me lean my camera up here a little bit. Right behind that terrace is a very small writing table. It faces the wall. And Twain said to concentrate, he really needed to face a wall. Up in that room is also a typewriter. A really original typewriter from a long time ago. And as some of you might know, at one point Mark Twain had to leave this house because he really couldn't afford it any longer. And one reason why he was going broke, more or less, is simply because he was investing in inventions. So it wasn't because of his works of literature not selling, it was investments that he was making. And he invested in a typesetter that was a complete failure and lost most of his money. So he had to vacate this house at one point, and that's when he went on his, well, he was always touring around, but he went on his tours and he gave his lectures. He went to many different countries, as you well might know. So once he left this house in the late 1890s, as the story would go, he really never really returned to this house. He had wanted to, but what had happened while he was touring abroad, his daughter Susie, his eldest daughter Susie, became ill, and she came to this house to stay, and she died in this house. And he said he could not come back here to live. So they did sell the house in the early 1900s at a reasonable price. And I'll tell you a little bit what had happened to this house in the 1900s. For a long time, it had different owners, but then one of the owners wanted to convert it into apartment buildings. And of course, we would never be looking at what we're looking at today if that happened. So Harriet Beecher Stowe's Cottage is also on the grounds here. She was a contemporary of Mark Twain's, a bit older. This is the grounds I'm on are also called Nook Farms. And this is, of course, where she did most of her writing as well. Well, one of her ancestors got together a group of people that campaigned to keep the Mark Twain House here as an historic site, and they were successful, thank goodness. So during that time period, however, this house was used as a library at one time, and then one of our private schools that now exist in West Hartford was first established here at this site. So this was not really converted into a museum for visitors until much later in the 1900s. And it's gone through numerous restorations in that time period. So if you happen to be in New England, this is a must-stop spot. People come from all over. Very often when I have visitors that come here, people that I've known through social media, I do come down here and meet with them. So if you happen to be coming to New England, definitely stop here any time of the year. And I do encourage you to do one of the tours with the costumed characters. It just makes it much more lively and much more fun. They stay in character. In addition, they do ghost tours here on Friday nights. They also do what are called clue mystery tours, which are an awful lot of fun. So I can obviously tell you more about that. But I also encourage you to go to the Mark Twain Museum website and learn a lot more about this house that I'm really not able to fully cover, of course, in this YouTube Live. But I was so happy to get here today and get a signal, because I don't always get a signal. I'm also going to just do, while we're standing here on the grounds of the Mark Twain House on Nook Farms, I'm going to do a quick pan just to show you what the area looks like today and show you where the Harriet Beecher Stowe Cottage is right behind me. So also, before I do that, though, let me turn and show you the Carriage House here. This is a stable where the carriages was kept and the horses at that time. It's been fully restored. Now it's partially used for administrative buildings as an education center. Behind me there you might see a modern building, and that's the museum center. There's an exhibit that rotates as well as a permanent exhibit. Right there is the visitor center for Harriet Beecher Stowe's house. You can see the sign there. And back behind there, I'll just do a quick walk before I come back to the Mark Twain House. You're going to see the Harriet Beecher Stowe Cottage. And if you do come to do a tour here, I'm getting a little bit of wind here, so I hope you could hear me okay. But if you do come to get a tour here of the Mark Twain House, you could get what we call a combined ticket and visit both homes, which I really encourage people to do to learn a little bit more about Harriet Beecher Stowe. And there's a lot in her house about Uncle Tom's Cabin. I did some time ago a little video inside the house. I could not talk, but I had special permission to do a video to show you the cottage. Okay, let me return back. You can see here the Nook Farms during different times of the year. The foliage here changes colors. Of course, in the fall it'll be beautiful here, but it's also beautiful here in the springtime when we have a chance to see the gardens. So let me come back to the house here, and I will pause and be quiet for a minute to see if you have any questions. And walk a little closer. And again, because we're on YouTube Live, I do apologize, a little bumpy. The path here is a little broken up. And so it might be a little bit bumpy, but please let me know if you have questions. If you text anything in before I leave the YouTube Live, I may be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Because as I said, I know quite a bit about the Mark Twain House. I love this house. I come here quite often. It's just a fantastic place. And so I'll just pause here a bit and see if anybody wants to text in any questions. Okay, then I think we will finish up. And again, for anybody that's looked at this video later on YouTube, thank you so much. Again, please let me know, Janae, if you have any questions about the Mark Twain House. I'm sure there's so much more I could tell you. I'm doing this spur of the moment, so I'm ad-libbing. But I can certainly tell you, for instance, let me just kind of mention about the different fireplaces you're looking at. The fireplaces inside the house, you can see that some of the chimneys, every single one of them is different. I'm going to try to move over a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. I think you can see some others there. And I know if I go to the side of the house where the kitchen is, that's where I sometimes lose a connection. So that's why I'm standing where I am right now. So I'm showing you 3 of the chimneys here, but you're getting a pretty good view. Everything about this house is so unusual, so imaginative, of course, like our very famous American writer, Mark Twain. And I probably should also add to this broadcast that Mark Twain is considered the father of American realism. And as Ernest Hemingway says, all great American literature comes from Mark Twain. Okay, let me know if you have any other questions before we finish out. I can see there's a few people still here on the YouTube Live. As I said, I'm always happy to answer questions about the Mark Twain House. And he does, of course, his boyhood house is in Hannibal, Missouri. I will mention he was not born in Hannibal, Missouri. He was born in a town called Florida, Missouri, which is close to Hannibal. But most of the people that really want to tour his house do tend to come to the house here in Hartford, where he spent an incredible amount of money collecting antiques and building this very elaborate, very unusual home. Okay, so I think I will finish up, and I really do want to thank the people that were on the live broadcast. Anybody watching this on a saved YouTube video, feel free to use the comment section to pose any questions to me. Thank you from the Mark Twain House, and I hope you come visit in person one day.